Breezy on Ice podcast, and about another episode for the podcast. And Darrelle Revis was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame yesterday. And congratulations to him on a storied career. We know what Revis Allen was like for most wide receivers, man. It was not an easy task playing against Darrelle Revis. Probably the second greatest corner to ever play the game of football, behind no other than the great, legendary Deion Sanders. Him and Deion Sanders is like MJ and Kobe, because those two guys are the first two guys that come to mind as a nightmare matchups for any wide receivers. Deion Sanders is a guy who played both sides of the ball, who did kick returns, punt returns. Deion Sanders even played a little bit of baseball, I believe, at one point in his career. So Deion Sanders was very talented, man, and could do a lot of things, and that's what made Deion Sanders legendary. And on the football field, man, he was something special too. Special talent. Bo Jackson was another guy who was like, a special talent. But Deion Sanders for me is the guy who was the greatest NFL player to ever live. In my opinion, he's the greatest, hands down. But him and Darrelle Revis is two special guys, man, because like I said, Darrelle Revis, man, he was the guy, during his era, the top cornerback during his era, the top guy. Wide receivers feared going up against this man because they knew they was gonna be on the island by themselves with just him and them and themselves, and it wasn't an easy matchup. Darrelle Revis is a guy who will follow the best wide receiver around the field. Literally, it was no escaping him. If you was on Revis Allen on the right side of the field and you went to the left side of the field, you was gonna be on Revis Allen on the left side of the field. No help. Just straight up man-to-man coverage. Darrelle Revis, man, quarterbacks didn't test that man. They didn't test him. They didn't throw the ball on the side of the field that they did. They thought it was open for a slight second. They learned their lesson within one or two plays, because one of those plays where either the quarterback's getting picked off, or the pass is getting deflected, or you was getting hit and you was dropping the pass with Darrelle Revis. And that's just the way it went for any top wide receiver. If you got away from Darrelle Revis, it was possibly on a slant route, and pray he wasn't following you then. And 9 times out of 10, on those slant routes, he wasn't following you. So that's the only way you was getting a break from Darrelle Revis as a wide receiver, if you was going across the middle. And that Jets defense was always pretty solid, so you didn't want to go across the middle either. But just a special talent, man. Special talent. Ocho talked about lining up against him, and a couple of other wide receivers talked about it. I mean, he put fear in some of the best wide receivers' heart, man. They knew they was in for a long, 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 long day, and they was gonna go catchless, or they was gonna get passes deflected by Darrelle Revis, or they was dropping passes. And even if they got open for a fraction, this is later in his career, if they got open for a fraction, it was still some kind of fear. He did get a Super Bowl ring with the Kansas City Chiefs, so I'm happy he did get a chance to win a Super Bowl ring. That's the cherry on top of his Sunday. Great story career, man. They don't make him like Revis Allen no more. There's not too many corners that put fear in wide receivers' heart, and there's not a lot of guys that come close. I know a lot of guys bigged up Richard Sherman, but Richard Sherman was not Darrelle Revis. I mean, once Richard Sherman got exposed, that was the end of his career. When he got exposed when he was with the 49ers. I mean, Richard Sherman was good with the Legion of Boom because he played with Cam Chancellor and those guys. And when you got somebody like Cam Chancellor as your strong or free safety over the top, man, helping you out, and then you had those linebackers, and that Legion of Boom era in Seattle was epic. But Darrelle Revis was a one-man wrecking show, just like Primetime was a one-man wrecking show during his time. And that's why you know, those two are the greatest corners of all time, in my opinion. 1 and 2, just like MJ and Kobe is the greatest shooting guards of all time. 1 and 2, and not too many people could argue that, because it would be crazy to say that Darrelle Revis wasn't the best cornerback during his era and his time. Like I said, not it didn't translate to a lot of playoff wins. They did make playoffs and stuff like that. It would have been more sweeter for him to win a ring with the Jets than to win one at the end of his career with the Kansas City Chiefs. He did go to New England, I believe, for a season, and he played somewhere else for a season also. But that's when he was, near the end. He came back to the Jets, and then, of course, he got the ring with the Kansas City Chiefs. So at least he has a Super Bowl ring, to add to his case, and just glad he's a Hall of Famer. I couldn't see him not making it. Too good of a career, too good of a corner. The greatest in his era, and all time behind Deion Sanders, because like I said, Deion Sanders was just something special, man. He was just something special. If Deion Sanders didn't play the same position, Darrelle Revis would be the greatest cornerback of all time. But he's the greatest of his era, and he's the second greatest of all time. And he's in great company. I mean, with Deion Sanders, him and Deion Sanders, man, great company, great company, man. And I believe Deion transcends the sport. That's why I would have to say he's the greatest NFL player of all time. A lot of people might say Tom Brady because of 7 rings and his whole background story of being, a 6th-round draft pick and shit like that. And yeah, that's cool. That's great. To say that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time, player wise, I can't do that. I would say he's definitely in the top 5 of greatest of all time. I got Deion Sanders. I got Ray Lewis, and Ed Reed was a good player, but Troy Polamalu was a little bit better to me. Of course, you can't put Troy Polamalu above Tom Brady, so I would go Deion, Ray Lewis, Brady, and then so on and so forth. But Deion Sanders definitely is the greatest NFL player of all time. Of course, I can't forget about Junior Seau and those guys. They definitely like in the top. May he rest in peace. In the top, top 10. But yeah, man, congratulations to Darrelle Revis, man. He's a Hall of Famer now. He's in the elite club, and the second greatest corner of all time, and the greatest cornerback of his era, the number 1 guy of his era. Just let me know what y'all think about that. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace and love as always. Breezy out.